back to the Industry F podcast. We got our guest here, Jamie. Please introduce yourself. Say your first and last name for everybody.
Hey, Tyler. My name's Jamie Alimorad. I'm a singer-songwriter based in Los Angeles, originally from New York, and have a lot of new music coming out this year that I'm very excited to be sharing with you.
Yeah, man. So, what was the single that just dropped? What was that?
The first single's a song called "Fade Into You," and it's a really unique song for me from a creative perspective. I a few years ago ended this on again, off again thing, will they, won't they sort of situationship. And it got to that point where we had to go one way or the other.
Mhm.
And it went in a non-together direction. So
Sure.
I was frustrated by it. And I just wrote these thoughts down in a journal and put it away. And about a year and a half later, I was dealing with a flood situation in my then apartment. My upstairs neighbor clogged his sink, and all of his water came into my kitchen.
Wow.
It was it was it was bad, and it's the second time that this upstairs neighbor did that. And I was confined to my bedroom. My insurance wouldn't get me a hotel room because I still had a working bathroom, and my bedroom was livable. So I'm confined
Wow.
in my bedroom, and I was super stir crazy one night. And I just started experimenting with some stuff. A girl I had been seeing who was a big EDM fan, and we would go out, to these, to the
Raves.
and whatever. I didn't rave, but we'd go out in Vegas, and she loved all that stuff. And
Mhm.
she loved, Zed and the Chainsmokers and those acts. And, I love having a good time, but that music doesn't do anything for me.
Sure.
So I kind of just dissect it all. And one day, I guess she found me to be too much of a stick in the mud. And she said, "Well, if you think it's so easy to make one of these songs, why don't you just do it and make a lot of money?" And I was like, "Well, it was only that easy." But I was like, "But I like the challenge of having to write an EDM track."
Sure.
So that night, I said, "Well, I have my software instruments and I have a little MIDI controller. Let's give it a shot."
Sure. What are you
And
using? What
uh,
programs?
I was just doing stuff in Logic,
Okay, great.
um, and playing around with some patches. I downloaded some new things on there and started playing with some melody ideas, and it came together pretty quickly. And my tastes musically are definitely older. So as I was working on this, I treated the whole thing as an experiment. And I said, okay, what would I normally do in this situation? I'd get the answer and then I'd do the opposite every
Sure.
single time. And I now had myself a bass track, melody, lead parts, some chords, and I just a little drum loop that I dropped in there.
Hmm.
And I said, okay, now I need some lyrics. Do I have anything that might fit? So I open up my notes and I start scrolling any of my ideas, and I find this journal entry from a year and a half earlier. And I go, oh, there's some good ideas in here. And actually, parts of it are rather lyrical. So I
Sure.
just massaged it a little bit, and that was it. The song was born. And I made this EDM demo that I shared with a few people, and nobody believed it was me.
That's
And I was
cool.
like, it just, what is this? And like, it doesn't sound like what you would do at all. So at the time, I was starting to explore looking for collaborative partners, and I wanted a new producer.
Sure.
And I met up with a mutual friend. I was visiting family in Vegas, and I met up with a friend of mine, and he's an agent. And I was talking to him about people potentially on his roster that might be a good fit for me. And he said, "Let me think about it, and I'll call you or text you." So we enjoy our lunch, and I'm on my way back to my car. And just before I'm opening the door, my phone goes off, and it's David. And he says, "I got a guy for you. It's Jordan Sherman." And he sends me this playlist of Jordan's work. And on the ride back to my mom's house, I'm listening and I go, "Yeah, this guy's speaking my musical language." And I love the mixes. I love the arrangements. I see he's a producer and a songwriter. He plays. And we got together shortly thereafter in his studio in Van Nuys, and I played him a bunch of my demos, and he was super down. And I played him the Fade Into You EDM track, and I
Cool.
said, "So, what I'd like to do with this song is what I would have affectionately started to call a demix. Like I'm a pop rock singer songwriter guy, and I don't know what direction I want to go in just yet, but for my artist project, this isn't the sound.
Sure.
He's like, yeah, we can do this as a band song. And we started fooling around a little bit. And I said, okay, yeah, you're the guy. And
Nice.
then we cut it in January, and it was one of the fastest, most efficient recording sessions I've ever had.
That's
It
killer.
was so much fun. Yeah.
Well, so I mean, are you enjoying to kind of dive in that genre or that kind of that world a little bit?
The EDM
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
Like, it doesn't do anything for me. Like it's just I'm a piano player. I'm a keyboard player. So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny that I don't want to do that stuff.
Sure.
But I grew up listening to very melodic, guitar driven rock, you
Yep.
know, late 70s, early 80s pop rock sound. Bands, my favorite band is the Tubes. I love Toto, guys like Richard Marx and Rick Springfield, Bryan Adams. Like that's my
That's your thing.
bag. Yeah. And then when I get more into my softer pop sensibility, like I grew up, I'm a huge Backstreet Boy fan because I love vocal groups,
Hmm.
the Temptations, the Four Tops, Boys to Men, anything with big harmony and something as a vocalist that I can latch on to,
Yeah.
I'm really in.
Do you,
So I feel like this kind of crosses the that gap.
do you know the Home Free guys or Straight No Chaser?
Yeah, I know. I absolutely not
Have we talked
personally,
have
but
we
I'm
talked
familiar
about
with.
that before?
No, we haven't.
So they're clients of mine. We'll talk about some other
Oh,
time the
cool.
stuff we do for them. My buddy Luke Pierce and David manage them. So and they got a new act they're managing called T3. You heard of those
Nice.
guys?
I feel like I've seen them pop up in my social
I
media.
I did a show with T3 in Nashville here at the City Winery, but anyway,
Hmm.
they're just those singing groups. And my
Yeah.
buddy Luke Pierce, they also manage 98 Degrees. They kind of brought them back.
Yeah,
And
I love 98.
so it's kind of wild how my buddy Luke Pierce, which I mean, Luke lives down the street from me.
Cool.
He kind of cornered that whole singing group type
Uh,
stuff. It's wild. I'm like, man, what are you doing? He's like, oh, we just keep picking them up. So we should talk about that, off the pod, and maybe you
oh,
guys can
sure.
meet sometime.
I
So
love that. I met Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees about a
cool,
decade ago in New York, and we've stayed in touch periodically. I saw them in Vegas last year, and
nice,
I know the guy that plays guitar for 98 when they're on tour, and
hell
got
yeah.
a little bit. So
Well,
yeah, I love those guys.
so then you just did this EDM thing just kind of on a whim.
Yeah, it was.
Kind of,
I mean, it was presented to me as a challenge. Like I don't think you can do it, and as Michael Jordan said, I took that personally.
yeah, yeah. It's a great
I'll
quote.
show you. I can do it. Yeah, and I'm always down for a new challenge, but I'm also aware enough to know what I do for my solo artist project,
Sure.
and this would be completely out of left field. Like, what is this? No one,
But
it
everyone's
would.
kind of touching it, so I think it's might be a good thing to maybe kind of dip your toes in it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I mean, I'd love to do a remix of it, which actually might be the original version of the song,
Sure.
but
There's a lot of songwriters, man, where they drop a cool pop sensibility tune and then they get it a remix, they drop it on the internet, and it
right.
absolutely goes crazy. So,
Yeah.
um, it's kind of wild. What's that guy's name? He's a songwriter kid. Now he's got a big beard because he's kind of doesn't have to do anything anymore. He's always on podcast. I took a pill in Ibiza.
Yeah.
Mike something.
I
Here,
can't think of his.
I'll look it up. But anyway, I'm saying he really, really got big because of the remix. It wasn't really because of his original tune.
Yeah, I
Because
mean, it makes
everyone in
sense.
Europe loves that stuff. Well, dude,
Yeah.
but I wanted to ask you something really that I was excited about. So the Carnegie Hall. So how's that all like? How's that work? How do you get booked on that? I think that's so badass.
Yeah, that was a crazy thing. So it started a little bit more than a year ago. And I got this message about this opportunity to perform, excuse me, at Carnegie Hall. And I mean, being from New York, being somebody that was originally trained classically
Yeah,
on piano and studied music in college, all that stuff,
it's kind of
like,
like the Mecca, right? Like
yeah,
you
like
want to
how
play
do
there.
you, I mean, arguably the most famous concert hall in the States, if not all of North America.
Yeah,
And um, I was very confused why they were coming after me because I did a little homework on the promoter
sure.
and it was classical. And
Hmm.
then somewhere on the deep dive, I saw, okay, there's a little jazz, there's a little world music,
Sure.
but it is 98, 99% classical music on your arias and symphonies and
Sure.
concertos. And the album that I did a few years ago with one of my heroes, Gino Vanelli, Gino's a known from the 70s and 80s for his jazz fusion,
Yeah, you did a record with him, right?
yeah, an album called This Is Tomorrow Calling. And we leaned into a singer-songwriter approach, and I wanted his DNA on it because Gino Vanelli, like, let's make this something that's ours, you know? And it leaned into a lot of jazz voicings.
Sure.
And that's what they heard, and they were into it.
Hell yeah.
And okay, so here's how this works. We have X amount of nights during the concert season, and we only want the best of the best, but we want to diversify a little bit more genre wise.
Like each night or the whole season?
What do you mean by that? Like,
Were you booked only like one night, or were you part of the whole
it started with one night, and then actually they offered me more
more?
nights.
That's
And it was
beautiful.
one of those things that if I didn't have to go cross country to do this,
You
I
could have done it.
probably would have done it like three times.
Sure.
But there was between the recording and the timing of when the other shows were, I couldn't swing it.
Sure.
So
But you did it.
they said I did it. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
it February 20th, and it was filmed, and we're
That's
waiting
so
on that
cool.
footage and get the audio, and we'll release it as a little like live short thing.
Sure.
And we actually filmed a documentary, a little docu short about my preparation and the journey to Carnegie Hall that we'll
That's
release
super
probably the beginning
cool.
of next year. Yeah,
That's
so we're
super
still
cool.
waiting on that footage from the show, and
Sure.
then clean it up and all that stuff. But I went through this audition, and it was one of the craziest auditions I've ever been on. It was over Zoom. There were literally people from all corners of the globe, not only auditioning, but as the judges. It was
Wow.
classical of the classical that were reviewing our performances. And I was the last group of the day, and I was the first person to go in that group.
Hmm.
And after the intros were made, I immediately thought, these guys are going to roast me because I'm
Yeah.
the jazz guy
Hmm.
entering this world. And, we all know the bad stereotypes. But as I got into my performance, I felt really good. I mean, when I hit that last note to myself, I said, I wouldn't change anything. So they're either going to be in or they're out.
Sure.
And much to my surprise, all of them made sure they let me know I don't know anything about jazz, but I do
Oh,
melody and harmony and voicings.
so
And I was
they all
attention
kind
lit.
of prefaced it like that. I don't know
Yeah,
jazz.
every single one of
Kind
them.
of
They're like,
makes you think a little weird.
yeah, I mean, it is interesting because if you think about when you submit a song to your PRO, it always goes, is it classical or non-classical?
Sure.
Same sort of thing with the Grammys and other award shows that there's the whole classical thing and then the whole non-classical thing.
Yeah.
And of course, even within the classical world, you have the new music stuff and the electronic concrete stuff that happened in the 60s that is still kind of classical, but it's avant-garde. And,
Yeah.
so it all has its branches and whatnot. But they all prefaced it that way, but they all seemed to love it. So I went away feeling very good. But then the cynic in me, the New Yorker in me went, they're probably just saying that to be like, let's appease this guy and get him out
Sure.
of here. But
100%.
then about a month later, I get a notice about, okay, we're going to reveal the performance lineup live on YouTube. Tune in, and I
And that's how
tune
you
in.
found out?
Yeah,
Oh,
they
wow.
and they said, here is our concert series for 2024, 2025, and there I was.
That is so
And
cool.
yeah, it was unbelievable, and it was a homecoming show for me. I played a show in New York in at that point it had been 6 years, and
You played a
the
show?
well, I played in New York was a private show. So I mean, as far as like an actual ticketed concert, it had been ages.
That is so
Well,
cool.
yeah, and I had like 60 people of just friends and family there, and they were all right in the front, and it was a rather
Wow.
powerful, emotional night for me.
Hey,
There's,
were your parents
how did
there?
I get here? You know?
Were your parents there?
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool as shit.
Yeah, I mean, people flew in from all over the country or drove in. I mean, cousins from Florida and Massachusetts and friends. I mean, just from all over. I was like, I can't believe everybody's here. The coolest part for me was a lot of my teachers came. Like my elementary school music teacher canceled a vacation to Brazil and flew up from Florida with his wife to see me perform.
Dude, that kind of gave me goosebumps a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, he was my first piano teacher. I started with him when I was 7. He was my K through 5
He was
music
your
teacher,
first guy.
my first one. And
Wow.
my alma mater, Northeastern University, some of the professors came down and they brought 9 students to
To
watch me
watch? Wow, that's
perform.
cool.
Yeah, it was really a full circle moment. And when I was in high school, I used to do the musicals. I love doing that stuff.
Yep,
And I was fortunate to actually be the lead role all 4 years that I was there. It was very cool. And we did performances Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I always told my friends and for my family members, come on the Saturday night because you
sure.
got all the opening night, whatever, out of the way. And the matinee never has the same amount of energy.
Yeah.
So they'd come on Saturday all 4 years and I'd see them out there. And as I walk out on stage in Carnegie Hall, the lights weren't blinding. So I could actually see
See him?
down.
Hmm.
And I saw them and the flashbacks to being in high school because it was the same people.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, these people have been with me from the beginning. And we were in the Harrison High School auditorium
Hmm.
together that way.
Hmm.
And now we're at Carnegie
Carnegie
Hall.
Hall.
Yeah.
That's so
And
cool, man.
I actually performed a song that I wrote about some of my friends and my high school girlfriend. And, when I was 18, we used to go to this beach and talk about the future and all that stuff. And that was one of the songs I did that
Wow.
night. And to actually perform it for the people that helped inspire it, I got pretty choked up on stage. That was a tough one to get through,
Hell yeah,
but
man.
it was
That
it
is
was
so cool.
yeah, it was
Well,
a night I'll never forget.
well, congrats, man. If no one's told you, I'm proud of you. When I saw it, I was like, holy shit, Carnegie Hall. That is fucking
Yeah,
dope, man. So
yeah, thank
congratulations. Well, let me ask you this too, man. Is that because living here in Nashville, they do this a lot with pop artists where they have the symphony behind them.
you.
Is that anything they do with the Carnegie Hall? Or is it just you up on stage by yourself? Like, how's that?
I could have done that. It that stuff didn't pan out to go full on with the symphony there. So
Sure.
I actually did was the opposite, and I just went super exposed. It was
Just piano.
me and a piano player,
Wow.
and I actually had no microphone. It it was just the room mics and the way that
The room sounds, they could hear it.
yeah, and I mean they had something somewhere, but there was no
Like,
handheld microphone. And I mean, because I know from the other performances, I could hear it in the hallways and in the green room so that I would know what's going on. And then they'd come find me that it's your turn and be in the wings and everything. So there were microphones somewhere and they had microphones to capture the audio for the recording.
yep.
But there was no PA system that I was locked into and all that.
Well,
And
excuse you for not knowing. I mean, the Carnegie Hall is very old, right?
yeah, 1880
So I
something.
mean, it was built for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean, when we did the sound check, it was whoa, I mean, it was
that's
pretty
cool, man.
wild. Yeah, and it uh it was fun to do it in such a different way.
Sure.
And what I tend to do is like I mentioned earlier, I love Richard Marx. Richard has been for like nearly the last 10 years, I think, doing these acoustic shows. And at one point during the set, he will tell you a story about when he was a kid. He went with his parents to see Tony Bennett.
Wow.
And he was begrudgingly going because, like, ugh, old people music. And he went and saw him. And at one point, Tony just, the lights came down and he said, we have this big band. We're doing all this stuff, but I want to be directly connected with you. So if you don't mind, I'd like to sing a song, no microphone, and just me and my piano player. And he performed that way, and it left such an indelible mark on Richard that when he started doing these acoustic shows, he said, I'd like to do that too.
Sure.
So let's go down, spotlight on him. And it's just him and his acoustic guitar at the very edge of the stage. And every time he does it, he always does my favorite of his songs, Angelia.
Hmm.
And it's just mesmerizing. So going into this show, when they told me, you're going to be naked, I
Hmm.
went, cool, this is going to be my moment to be
To do
like
that.
Tony and like Richard. And
Very cool.
it was fun. It was a really unique challenge. And uh, I won't say that I blacked out on that stage, but there were bits and pieces that like I don't remember what
Don't
happened.
remember.
Yeah, it was just where I don't know. I mean, it was like I was somewhere else. I couldn't believe that this was actually happening.
I feel like
And
those kind of moments. I mean, dude, Carnegie Hall. I mean, that's legendary.
mhm,
I feel like it's like a shot of freaking like endorphins, and you know what I mean. Like it
yeah,
brings you to a different spot. And you're like, holy shit, this is why I do this.
absolutely. I mean, and the response afterwards, I mean, the place was packed. The audience went nuts. I mean, it was a very like kind of crowd for everyone else, but for me, they let loose a little bit. They let their hair down.
Sure.
And you know, it's a great feeling to have obviously everybody that you know personally be there and have that support system. But it was also really thrilling for me to come out afterwards, and all of us came out and to talk to people that were somewhat familiar with my music or had been following me on social media and they came to the show. And then there were other people from overseas. I met a few people from Europe that just happened to be in New York and
And they
wanted to
went,
go something in Carnegie Hall,
wow,
like taking pictures with them and like tell me about your story, and we want to share your music with our friends and family back in Spain, France, the Slavic countries. Like, whoa, this is wild.
that's pretty rock
I
star.
was it was a pretty magical night, on so many levels. Just like how does this even happen? And that's the power of music. I mean, I don't think anything brings people closer together than music does. I think
No,
that's the time. When a song leaves an impact on you, you can remember where you were and all those places and people, the sights, the smells, like everything for me comes back when I hear particular songs, and I can transport myself to those moments. And if I'm able to do that with someone, and I hope maybe with some people, that night will be one of those moments for them. I mean, that's just an incredible thing.
yeah, man, it is. I mean, well, let me ask about this then, since we're talking about live music, and now you're living in Los Angeles, right? How long you been
Mhm.
back over there?
I've lived here 7.5 years.
Yeah, but you were in New York, New Jersey raised, correct?
New York raised. Yeah, I grew up 20 minutes north of Manhattan in
Okay,
Westchester.
so like touring, what I always, because obviously, I mean, is that really like your bread and butter? Is like playing shows, or is it more producing?
It used to be. I mean, I used to tour a lot.
Mhm.
And then when I moved out here, I stopped for a while because I put all my emphasis on this album with Gino because it was a
Sure.
big budget project. And then we had everything lined up. It came out in September of 2019.
Mhm.
We're getting rave reviews,
Right before COVID.
and that's what derailed everything. I mean,
Yeah,
I won the USA songwriting competition with a
amazing.
tune from that album called Brighter Days. And through them, we set up a South by Southwest thing, a Nashville showcase.
And
Uh,
it got canceled due to the week.
yeah,
That's when COVID happened. Was South by.
yeah. I played the first show on the tour, which was at Myron's Jazz Club at the Smith Center in Las Vegas, part of the Composers Showcase.
Cool.
And the next day, it was not, I'm sorry, a week later, it was over. Like that
Uh,
was my warm-up show. South by Southwest was going to be in 2 weeks,
and done.
and that was it. And we were in deep talks with a Northeast run. There was a West Coast run, and the only one we hadn't figured out yet was really like the middle of the country and the South. And we were getting radio play in secondary markets that we were going to hit these small towns and go to these
Sure.
theaters and these clubs, and uh, it all just ended. And most of my connections with the artist ambassador programs and sponsors, the people that I knew got laid off and or the programs became a shell of themselves or completely
Hmm.
canned. And since then, I've basically shifted my priorities with my projects to recording.
Gotcha.
And as far as like, paying the bills and everything, I do a lot of teaching and
Gotcha.
I get a great kick out of that. I mean, that's a joy for me. Have worked with a number of academies. I do things privately. I used to run the after school music programs for the Beverly Hills School District. It was been a lot of fun.
Wow.
Um, so there's a lot of different things that I do. I'll write with other people, and here
Sure.
and there I get something placed on a small project. But now with this new music, it's the great push to make it the only thing that I do.
So yeah, so Jamie, you're saying that touring, has been on the back burner for a second, but you're just more focused about recording projects and putting that out there, which I think honestly is a smarter move these days. I used to
Yeah.
tour for a living. I miss playing. I have an agent. I'm trying to get back playing bigger shows again, and I got a couple booked. But what I'm getting at is you can get burnt out. You can literally walk away from music because you'll be so broke doing it. And so I think it's smarter to actually focus on the music because you can just be huge online. And then maybe
Yeah.
if it comes along, man, that's happened to do the Carnegie Hall, right? They found you. So
Exactly. And I mean that's the goal with all of this is let's make the best music possible and give it the best push possible. That's stuff that we're working on. And my hopes with that is that it starts reaching more people, the right people. They go, hey, we should want to bring you in on this, and we want to bring you in on that. Because I love playing live. And I played live more last year than I had since COVID.
sure.
And not, I mean, I did a lot of songwriter nights, small things before that. But last year I did some full band shows. I
Cool.
did some stripped down solo shows, me and a keyboard or me and an acoustic guitar. And I had a lot of fun with it. And that connection with the audience is something I've definitely missed tremendously. And honestly, the last show that I played in 2024 was at the Peppermint Club in West Hollywood.
Oh, that's a great spot.
I've always wanted to play there. So to finally do it was great.
Mhm.
And the response from the audience, and I threw in some random stuff and some old stuff because, like I was talking about with the D mix of Fade Into You, what direction do I want to go in? Am I going to lean more into the rock or am I going to go back more into this pop sensible thing that I had been doing? And the response to the rock stuff was just off the charts. And I said,
Cool.
okay, I'm going to do it. And the only reason I had stopped doing more of a rock thing was because at the time from years ago, I wore my influences a little bit more on my sleeve before being that kind of retro was cool.
Sure.
And I'd get booked for certain things and be placed on certain programs. And then when they'd see me, I looked nothing like what the rest of the rock bands looked like.
Yeah.
No,
Sure.
no long, crazy hair or beard and tattoos. And I wasn't wearing a Jack Daniels shirt if I was going to be more of like the dad rock band thing.
Sure.
And it's like, yeah, we don't know what to do with a guy like you. You don't kind of fit the mold. So that's why with Gino, we did more of the singer-songwriter thing and made
Mhm.
that eventually become a little bit more and more pop. But after this response, I said, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And then they'll either come to me or they won't. But I don't care. I'm going to do the best music that I can do. And
Mhm.
I'm going to arrange it with Jordan in a way that I feel is right for it, which in this case was more of that guitar driven rock that I grew up listening to.
Sure.
And
Would you guys
yeah.
track it live, or did you kind of do it in pieces, like a skeleton? Like,
I mean, we did it because it's basically just us on the track.
uh,
There's another drummer on there, Triple D, is doing the drums, but I'm playing piano. I did some drum work and the percussion as well as all the vocals. Jordan did the guitar and bass, and he's on the gang vocals with me.
cool.
So like it's us, but obviously we can't play all those instruments at once. So
100%.
like it's tracked live, but not like in a live room.
Yeah, you did it in pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
That's killer, man. Well,
Yeah.
how many tracks are in the can then?
So we have four done. Fade Into You, the second single, Two Wrongs, we have lined up for a May release, which I need to chat with you about some more.
Killer.
And then, we'll in the summer, two songs will come out. They're called Like That and Embers. And then we're going to get back into the studio to do two more songs for this year. And then next year, the goal is another six songs.
Nice.
So it'll be like EP1, EP2, but it's actually side A and side B of a LP. You know what I
Sure.
mean? But
Uh,
everything will be a waterfall.
Cool thing to ask. Have you ever, just because I used to help manage a band called Driving and Crying. They played here the other night. It was wild because there was tornadoes coming through Nashville, but
Oh,
it was crazy. But they used to, and I just did some vinyls as well. Are you ever like in a vinyl guide? You ever put that out?
I would love to do that. I've never done it. I was going to do it for This Is Tomorrow Calling for when we
Hmm.
went on tour, and then that didn't happen. So then,
Gotcha.
as far as what am I going to do with the budget I have, I put it all into more promotion,
Sure.
And so eventually, yes, I definitely want to have a vinyl
I
release.
think it's
Yeah,
crazy, man, because you can actually make a somewhat of a return on it because people
I
enjoy
know.
it. You know,
Yeah,
what I learned when I was helping manage that band Driving and Crying, they're from like '89, 90. They've been around forever, and same group as Sturgill Simpson, Chris Stapleton,
sure.
Jason Isbell. It's kind of their world, but they would release the same record but with a pink swirl, and people are like, oh,
Hmm.
gotta buy it just because it looked
Yeah,
different. I was like, well, that is wild. It's the same song, you know.
yeah,
But anyway, but yeah, man. So this is all independent as well because now you have a deal with KMG, Ross
right.
Roby.
Yeah.
That's going well with those guys over there.
Yeah, I mean it's they've been really sweet, great communication.
Hmm.
Uh the numbers are growing really organically. And
Cool.
I've been doing stuff on my end too to reach out to different curators and this, that, and the other thing.
Hmm.
But it feels like every facet is chugging along. And I mean, I'm thrilled so far with
Nice.
what's coming of it. I mean, I noticed the growth, I noticed the change, and it's certainly, this is the first one, and I feel like I'm leading with a very strong single, and
Sure.
you want to put your best foot forward, but I feel like it's laying the groundwork for those numbers to continue to grow. I mean, I've already seen since Fade Into You came out, my monthly listenership has, well, really since Carnegie Hall. If I'm just using Spotify's data,
Sure.
my monthly listeners have more than doubled in less than 2 months.
Let's go, dude. That's
And
amazing.
yeah, and I can see where the audience in Europe is like
Loving it.
really growing. The numbers in the States also way higher,
Nice.
but I mean, I've always done really well in the US and Canada.
Sure.
And then here and there you see the other sort of things. But now I'm seeing, last I checked, even I think it might have been earlier today, Germany was my number two country on Spotify, and then France, and then the United Kingdom was on there. And I'm like, whoa, okay.
That's
You know,
killer, man.
it's nice to see that stuff. And there's certainly been a decent amount of press coming in from them too on these different blogs.
Great.
And I don't know really how all this has happened, but I've been getting a lot of, I don't want to call them collaborations, but people have been taking the song on Instagram a lot and doing things with it.
Like posting your sound in reels.
Sometimes that, but I've seen people do artwork to it. I mean, someone sent me this crazy AI thing that they did. I
That's
mean,
cool, man.
like there have been plenty of things where like I know somebody was a travel vlogger or something and they used the song and stuff like that. But there have been a few people that have like, hey, I redrew your cover in like this modern art way and stuff like
That's
that. They're like,
cool.
I've never had that sort of stuff come my way before. So it's reaching people in ways that it hasn't happened in the past.
Well, the beautiful thing about working with Ross Roby and KMG is they make sure it hits all those channels because
Hmm.
lower distribution, I'm just saying I'm not trying to talk ill of anybody,
Yeah,
but like a District Kid or a TuneCore, they just kind of put it out there. KMG,
right.
Fuga, it's the real deal. It's going to get collected worldwide and it's going to go through all the random different new stores that developed. And, a big one that does not get distributed right is Meta and TikTok. And so that's what you kind
Yep.
of want is so people to interact and go, hey, where's Jamie's song? Oh, it's not on here, and that's a bummer. So I'm glad
Yeah.
I'm glad that's happening. So that's killer.
Yeah, it's great to see, and I'm getting tagged in a lot of things daily on all of those platforms,
Nice.
and it it's exciting,
Yeah.
and to know that there's so much more coming. That's been the problem in recent years. The COVID stuff thwarted all that momentum
Mhm.
with that album. Then a few years ago, I released a few songs throughout 2022. And again, we had momentum, but the people I was working with, it all just kind of bottomed out. And then you're left with, all right, well, now what do we do? Because there were even more songs ready to be released, and suddenly we couldn't do it anymore.
100%.
So, now with these new relationships, it feels like that something's taking hold, and
Well,
it feels really good.
I think it's a big thing within music, and it could be other things of other industries. But if you just stick around for a while, then you start getting some success. Like if you,
Yeah,
a lot of people, what do? They get pregnant, they become a real estate agent, whatever. You know what I mean? They get out of music, but if you still stick around and keep doing it, it is nice to finally go, man, did this tip? What's going on here? Like, man, people are
yeah,
posting my song. That's so cool. So that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. It's somebody said something to me a few weeks ago. A guy I loosely know, I ran into him at a salon. He's a doctor, and he's taken an interest in my career. He follows me on the socials, all that stuff. And he
Cool.
congratulated me on the Carnegie thing and everything. And I forgot exactly how he said it, but he said, uh the most successful person, or something like that, was like the guy that just never gave up.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's what I feel for myself, because it's been a long road, and I
Mhm.
certainly have had many an opportunity to take a shortcut,
Sure.
and I would not have been able to look myself in the mirror if I went down that path.
Sure.
So it's led to a lot of frustration, and a lot of um a lot of hungry days, but I've only used that to fuel me. And I'm very happy with where I am and who I am. And now I'm at this place where I feel like I can really give it the the attention it deserves, give those
Nice.
songs their moments. And that's an exciting feeling.
Well, I'm stoked for you, man. Well, I
Yeah,
want to talk about. We'll end it with some music, more music stuff. But for
sure.
LA, what's your favorite part of Los Angeles? Because I mean, I'm obsessed with California.
It was always it was always my dream, once I saw it for the first time, to move to Malibu. And obviously
Okay.
this has been very, very hard
Hmm.
by coast over there. And with everything that's kind of happened, it's like maybe my dream isn't so much to be in Malibu anymore, but there is
Sure.
something magical about that area. I love Manhattan Beach a lot too. I love being by the ocean.
Yep.
I mean, there's so much to love about LA. I mean, anybody can rag on any city or any place for any number of reasons.
Yep.
But when I step outside, and especially on a day like today, it's going to be 76 degrees, not a cloud in the sky.
It
I
feels
just
great.
take, yeah, this is it, man.
Yeah.
Like I distinctly remember when I stopped liking winter, and I was when I had to start shoveling the snow
Yeah.
in New York, and being out here. There's just something about this town and what I crave, not just professionally, but just out of life. There is a spark here that really speaks to me, and I feed into it, and I feel like it feeds into me. And I've met some of the greatest people in this town that have become dear friends. And it's that whole combination of things. Like I don't know if I have a favorite one spot in LA. I can pick that for other towns,
Sure.
but there's something about the community in LA that just makes me feel good, almost no matter where I am.
Sure.
Um,
I
so
agree. I agree. I've
yeah,
lived all over. So all over. I was
yeah,
San Pedro for a second too, and people were like, "Why the hell are you in San Pedro?" I was like, "Dude, I love it down here." So I lived around the water. I had a killer apartment. It was like 18 floors up. It was like all glass. That was my COVID move because I wanted to get out of Hollywood.
yeah, yeah. I get that.
But even though I was in Hollywood, even though that's a weird place, the community was cool because there was a lot of artistic
Sure.
people there.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of friends that are still in Hollywood, or when they made the jump to LA, they started there. And
Hmm.
know, Holly Weird is exactly that, but
Sure.
I mean, it's fun, man.
So, do you have any shows in LA coming up?
I'm actually doing, it's not my show, but this Saturday, April 12th, I don't know if dating the show is a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm playing the Beatles Jam at Hotel Cafe for the first time. I'm a huge Beatles fan. Absolutely.
Which room? The main or the second?
It's in the second room this
Gotcha. Okay,
time.
killer.
And yeah, they asked me to do lead on I'll Be Back, which is on the B side of A Hard Day's Night, which is one of my favorite albums of theirs. I'm an early 64 to 65 guy,
Sure.
Beatles, but Hard Day's Night to Rubber Soul is really my favorite period of them. And I do love the deep cuts. So I'll Be
Nice.
Back is one of those, you know, John and Paul harmony songs that I really, really love. And they asked me to do it. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I hope they do it every few months.
That's
So I'm
cool.
hoping it gets my foot in the door there to do more with that. Cause I mean, the Beatles are one of my biggest influences and certainly was watching a lot of Beatles stuff before going into the studio because talk about the kings of experiment.
Hundred percent.
They're unreal for what they did. And then outside of that, I'm working on potentially booking some stuff in Southern California. And after more songs come out for this project, I'd like to do something bigger in LA.
Sure.
Here, if someone asks me to do something, if I can swing it, I would certainly hop on the bill. But as
Sure.
far as mounting a proper tour, there are some conversations going on behind closed doors and I'm letting those people handle it right now,
For
and
sure.
I'm focused on whatever I have to do with the new music.
Well, man, Hotel Cafe is a blast. I play there a bunch.
Yeah.
Love the connection with my buddy. Well, Danny Petrucci, amazing drummer. He tours me a lot. I think he's in Australia at the moment touring.
Cool.
But my friend Jada Kelly, she's an incredible folk singer songwriter from Canada.
Oh, nice.
I had her on the podcast when I first started this thing. We used to shoot up in Santa Clarita, killer studio. Man, she's always at the Hotel Cafe. But there's a really cool thing you haven't done it just because the community, because it's always like 100 people. It's the New Faces night on Mondays. You know what I'm talking about? The
I know
Monday.
I know the Monday, but
Yeah,
is it
yeah, yeah.
a different thing? New
No,
Faces Monday?
well, maybe, I think I'm misquoting it. That's the basement here in Nashville. It's just a Monday night
Oh,
songwriter thing.
okay. Yeah.
If you've
Yeah.
never done that, it's a great thing just to. I mean, you'll meet all the songwriters in town that are just
I'd love to do that. I haven't
good
done that.
eggs. I'll connect you to
Yeah.
Jada Kelly, man. She's awesome.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
She is such an artist. I mean, dude, she somehow makes a living doing what she does 100% of the time. Just I don't, and she's so happy about it. So
That
I met
rules.
her in North Hollywood at some bar. We were drinking. I was like, "You play music?" It was just it was fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was a long time ago. But yeah, man. Well, dude. So almost done wrapping up here. Is there anything you
Sure.
want to plug about? Like, obviously, you're talking about the new single. Was there anything that you specifically want to talk about
Um,
that you got coming up, or your experience of like maybe the music business? I mean, you seem like a guy to me, which I truly enjoy because I can't stand. Obviously, I love the music business because I'm definitely it's a big part of my life, but I can't stand it when people complain about, hey, the we should get paid more for the split. Like that stuff is way above our pay grade.
yeah.
Either you got to adapt and figure out another way to survive in the music industry, or maybe it's not for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to a Richard Marx quote because I've talked about him a few times today. I remember him saying in an interview about they asked him what advice would you give to an up and coming artist, and he said, especially now, and this is going back like 10 years, if not 15 at this point, especially now, if you would die because you couldn't do this,
Hmm.
that's the only way you should be in the music industry because he's talking about at that time, like the money's really gone. Like I used to be able, as a songwriter, to write for other people and write for myself. And then whatever the sales were, I could make a living off of that. And
Hmm.
his sons are all musical. And he would say, I could buy a car, they could buy a sandwich with these gigantic numbers. So
Sure.
you really have to love what you do in order to do this and to be successful and to just be happy. And I really love what I do. Like, no matter how big or small it is, to go into a rehearsal room, to go into a studio, to play a big room like Carnegie Hall, to play an intimate room like the Hotel Cafe. to
Hmm.
look around on stage and have that synergy with other musicians and then have that connection when both of us are really feeling it with the audience. I think that's just the greatest thing in the world. And I haven't recorded new music in a few years for a variety of reasons, but to get back into the studio and working with Jordan, who is just absolutely fantastic. He's brilliant. But it will never get old to me that when I
That's great.
park my car and I'm about to walk in there, I don't have anything. I have an idea, I have a demo, but we didn't do anything yet.
Hmm.
And then I pop out 6 hours later and it's nowhere near finished, but I have something I can put into my stereo and
Hmm.
listen to it and go, wow, we just came up with all that.
Yeah, 100,
And
that's cool.
it's magic.
Hmm.
And I think in an era where more and more things seem to be machine driven and whatever else is going on that way above our pay grade, people should do things that make them happy and should find those creative outlets, those expressive outlets that really bring joy and fulfillment. And speaking for myself, these songs that are coming, one by one, I think will let you into different sides of my personality, both from a musical way to a human way. And I don't think I've ever had more fun doing what I'm doing than right now. And it just feels like it's like a breath of fresh air and to really embrace who I am fully and completely is really freeing and liberating. And the early response is showing that, yeah, there are people that really like that, so
Well,
that's a cool thing.
well, love that, man. Well, I love to end this sometimes with this question is because I think it's a very well kind of what you're just saying if you would die for music. When was your aha moment of like, man, I want to do that?
Oh yeah, I was just talking about this the other day to someone, and it's actually really unremarkable.
Hmm.
I have always loved music from when I was a kid. My dad was a very well-known Persian singer,
Cool.
and music was played in the house all the time. All of my early musical influences are because he just kept handing me cassettes, and I would listen to them from when I was 4 years old. And the Beatles one had come out. So what was that, 2000? And that was the gift of that Christmas. My dad got it, my uncles got it. And before Christmas, we were at my uncle's house in Massachusetts for Thanksgiving, and they were talking about the Beatles. And of course, at that point, I'm little, but I knew who they were. I
Sure.
just know about them. I knew songs, but I didn't know anything.
Sure.
So I learned that day that they filmed movies. And I'm like, okay, cool. So he goes, here, take this, watch it whenever you want. I'm not going to watch it anytime soon. And it was a
Sure.
copy of Help.
Hmm.
And okay. And it was just like that for me. And then New
What
Year's comes.
was it a
Hmm?
tape?
It was a VHS
VHS.
a VHS of Help. And my that uncle would always come on New Year's. So he asked me, have you guys watched Help yet? And I said, no, not yet. He goes, all right, don't worry about it.
Hmm.
So that February of '01, New York got hit with a huge blizzard, and I got like 3 snow days in a row or something like that.
Hmm.
And it was actually right around the anniversary of when they first came to America. And my mom happened to be at the airport and at Ed Sullivan for when the Beatles first arrived in the States.
Wow.
It was kind of this cool thing. And my dad actually worked with the Beatles in Abbey Road in the 60s. That's a whole other crazy story.
That's
So there's a
cool.
tie there. And they said, let's watch this movie. And I was like, oh, do we have to? Like, I'd rather play a video game right now.
Sure.
So we're like, all right, we're going to do family movie night. And we pop it in. And I was in tears from laughing so hard. Were so funny.
That's cool.
And I thought the movie was great. And, at a certain point there, I don't know how many songs in, because they have those musical moments. But the story of Help is Ringo gets this giant ring pop looking thing in a fan letter. And it actually is a sacrificial ring for a cult religion. And whoever wears the ring must be sacrificed to the god Kaili, fictional.
Wow.
So they're chasing the Beatles all over the world to try and kill Ringo. And it's
I've never
it's
seen this.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, Monty Python has said they took everything from that movie, and
Wow,
it's very obvious as you watch it. The Monkeys is a total ripoff of Help.
that's so
And
cool.
there's a scene that they're working with someone, and they're like, okay, new idea to get this ring off his finger because he can't get it off.
Mhm.
They're going to inject him with this shrinking formula, and then it'll shrink it enough that it'll fall off. So he's on his back like this, and they're all watching him. And uh, John takes out the gum, right? Yeah. Yeah, John takes out a stick of gum and offers it to George. And he goes, gum. And the response is, are you sure it's not mainline or habit forming? Like, no, as long as you don't swallow it.
Oh,
I saw that little interaction and I went, that's it. I'm done. There
yeah,
is nothing else that I want to do because all I'm seeing here are four best friends
hmm,
having time
of
of
their
their,
life. Yeah,
and like that's what I want to do. And I immediately formed a garage band and we started playing all the school dances and town functions when we were
cool.
like 11 years old.
Hmm.
And that was it. I never looked back. And
That's cool, man.
it's the Beatles,
Well, let me
So
ask you this before you bounce in. What was your first show?
first show I ever saw was at Rye Playland, an amusement park right next to where I grew up, and it was Little River Band and Loverboy.
What was the first show you played?
Oh, first show. Oh God. First show that I ever played with like my band.
Yep, 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 yep.
It was the Lewis M. Klein seventh grade dance.
Oh man,
Yeah,
you
and
playing
that was
piano?
I was playing piano and the keys and singing. Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
but there was a DJ, and then we were the live band set, and then they went back to the DJ.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was a dance, and it's like it's. I feel like that doesn't happen anymore,
Yeah, I don't
But
think it. I mean, there's a band that cause we're doing it as a favor to this music industry friend of ours who's he's a manager in Nashville. I'm playing the Exit in Nashville coming up May
mm,
23rd. It's
cool.
a big rock club, it's like 500 person. But what I'm
Yeah,
getting at
yeah.
is the opening band. It's called the Phototonics. They're like 11 and 12. And he's like, hey man, like we'll buy tickets. They're gonna buy a whole bunch for all their friends. And I was like, can they just be the first of three? I go, yeah, because someone did that for me when I was 14. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And so these kids are freaking out, and we're gonna
Ah,
have them set up front so they can have their own little thing. But it'll
that
be cool,
rules.
man. Well,
Yeah.
to bring it back before we wrap up, and you can plug all your social stuff. Those bands you played with, were some of those people there at the Carnegie Hall?
Those guys were not there. Most of them, all of them but one has stopped doing music professionally. The one guy, his name's Graham. He started on keyboards, then he started playing guitar. I forgot who he's on tour with now, but he works with a pretty big indie guy. I haven't
Cool,
spoken to him in a few years, but we still follow each other on social media and all that stuff. But
nice.
um, yeah, he's still playing. But there are some other guys that I would have sit in with me sometimes
Hmm.
that were there at Carnegie Hall. But again, none of them went into music professionally. I mean, it really was just friends there, which is like,
Nice.
the real ones, you know what I mean? That like through every step of the way, they've been at everything. They've bought every t-shirt, every CD,
That's
whether I'm
awesome.
playing in someone's basement or, a concert
Carnegie
hall.
Hall.
Yeah, like we're there, man. We're
That's
there.
killer.
Uh,
Well,
that's that's unreal.
Well, dude, I'm stoked and I'm proud of you. I thought that. I mean, I know there's so much more we could talk about, but the Carnegie Hall is something I really wanted to chat about. So thanks for
Yeah,
talking about all that. And hopefully,
my
man, your
pleasure.
friends with that producer, maybe who knows? You know what I mean? Maybe you could
Yeah,
quit
I
going
mean,
again.
I would love to do it again. We have had some conversation about more stuff, and I'm hoping that it goes that way. I'm hoping it might lead to some other opportunities and other halls that they book in. So we'll
Nice.
see. I mean, I know they were very happy with it, and I was thrilled with the performance. I keep using the term magic throughout our conversation
Yeah.
here, but it really was, and it really is. I mean, I think music is the most special thing. We would not be alive without the beat of our hearts. So
Mhm.
I think it's just constantly flowing through us, and there's nothing else I would rather do.
Well, thank you, Jamie. Well, dude, plug where people can find you.
Yeah, you can find me online. Everything is at Jamie Alimorad, JamieAlimorad.
Mhm.
The gram, TikTok. I need to do TikTok more. I know that, but I've been slacking there.
It's a
You
whole
know,
job.
yeah, YouTube, X, Blue Sky, Threads. I'm on everything and always happy to chat and hang and uh come listen.
And name of the new single?
The new single is Fade Into
Fade Into
You.
You.
It's available on all streaming platforms, iTunes, Bandcamp as well for purchase. And we have more coming throughout the rest of the year.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, well, thank you so much, Jamie. We'll be posting this up soon.
Thanks, Tyler. Appreciate it.